How many of you make decent money but still feel like you're financially unstable? Not broke, not irresponsible, not even behind, just unsettled. There's this quiet voice: if something unexpected happened, I don't know how calm I'd be. Nearly half of women in the US have no emergency savings at all. Only 13% of women said they feel confident about their finances. And almost half of all Americans, women and men, can't even cover a $1,000 emergency without stress. If stability feels fragile to you, it doesn't mean you're failing. It means you were never given the full blueprint. Today's conversation is called Why Income Without Structure Disappears. The question comes to mind: what is the issue? Income is active and structure is proactive. Most of us, whether we're athletes, entrepreneurs, or professionals climbing the corporate ladder, have been taught how to earn. We've been taught how to hustle, to perform, even to push, but very few have been taught how to insulate. Think about professional athletes. The income is staggering, yet Sports Illustrated reported that 78% of NFL players experience bankruptcy or financial stress just within 2 years of retirement. And then it's 5 years for the NBA players, and that's a 60% rate. So the problem isn't that they've never had money, it's that money was never placed inside of a system that would keep working after the spotlight fades. That's not just an athlete problem. Many of us operate the same way. We have good months and we have quiet months. In sales, we celebrate a commission, but then we worry about taxes. We could even make 6 figures and still feel like we can't breathe. And here's why. Because income without structure disappears. It disappears through unplanned expenses, through lifestyle creep, through emergencies that turn into debt. It can disappear through trusting the wrong advisors, like many athletes have, Terrell Owens being one of them. It even disappears because we've never built the bucket to capture the flow. So in plain terms, it would be like pouring water into a bucket with holes in it. It doesn't matter how powerful the faucet is if the bucket isn't sound. Eventually, guess what? It runs dry. I can already hear a lot of you saying like, hey Tycoon, I hear you, but why is this important to me? For my sisters, listen, y'all have a unique financial reality because on average, y'all live 5 to 7 years longer than men. That means that your money needs to last longer, yet research shows 49% of women, they have no emergency savings compared to 36% of men. The median emergency fund balances are about $6,500 for women and $11,000 for men. Only 43% of women feel financially secure compared to 59% of men. Meanwhile, 37% of women say they feel anxious about their financial situation versus 27% of men. The numbers are not lying, and there are structural reasons: wage gaps, career interruptions for caregiving, longer life expectancy. But there's also a missing conversation about structure. The world teaches women to be resourceful and resilient, but rarely teaches them to create systems that make their resilience less necessary. If we're talking about athletes in their short earnings window, professional athletes earn significant income in a very short window. The average NFL career lasts about 3.3 years. So without a plan to protect and invest, that income disappears as soon as the career ends. So we saw this in those bankruptcy statistics. On the flip side, athletes like former NFL player Glover Quinn, he saved 70% of his salary and invested it so that his wealth continued to grow after he stopped playing. So you might say, okay, well look, I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a high performer. Well, guess what? You guys experience volatility. Some quarters are great, some are dry. So without structure, high income months often lead to overspending. Then there's that quiet season that arrives and the anxiety follows. And if you're in the corporate world, stability is borrowed because your paycheck depends on a company, a role, a market. We've all seen how quickly those things can change. So structure is what transforms borrowed stability into owned stability. Here's the question. When should you do something? I would say this: as soon as that unease shows up, if you've ever thought, I make enough, so why don't I feel secure? That's your signal. Waiting doesn't fix the leaks. Time passing without action often turns unease into crisis. You know, the scripture says that the prudent see danger and take refuge. Taking refuge is not about fear, it's about wisdom. It's about building a shelter before the storm. So whether you're 25 and you're just starting to build a career, or you're 44 and contemplating retirement or a career shift, the right time starts right now. You know, I'm not going to give you guys all of these problems without a framework. So here's the 4-step framework. And this framework is designed to be simple enough to apply broadly, yet powerful enough to change everything. Quick pause for just a moment. If you're in insurance, you ever thought, I know what I do matters, but I'm not always sure people hear it the right way, then this is for you. Master the Market, Amplifying Value in Insurance just dropped today on Amazon. Now look, I didn't write this to teach tactics or shortcuts. I wrote it to help agents articulate value with confidence, clarity, and authority. Conversations stop feeling like convincing and they start feeling like alignment. This book is about how you think, communicate, and how you position yourself in a crowded industry without selling your soul or shrinking your standards. So if you're ready to evaluate how you show up, I need you to go to Amazon and search Master the Market, Amplifying Value in Insurance today. Because when your value is clear and your purpose is strong, everything else gets simpler. Step one, you have to clarify your continuation number. You have to know what stability requires. Most people guess what they need. Guessing isn't structure, it's hope. Instead, calculate your continuation number, the monthly amount required to maintain your lifestyle if active income stopped. You need to include essentials, debt obligations, and a cushion for unexpected expenses. Then multiply by at least 6 to get your target emergency fund. The data showing that nearly half of the Americans can't cover a $1,000 emergency is proof of why this matters. You see, the number gives you clarity. It stops the vague fear of the unknown and it replaces it with a specific target. You can't build what you haven't even measured. Step two, you have to separate income streams from lifestyle. You need to build buckets, not blurs. I want you to picture your money as water. One stream for household expenses, one for taxes, one for business growth or reinvestment, one for your continuation plan, meaning your emergency fund, insurance investments, things of that nature. When your income flows into separate buckets, you protect your lifestyle from volatility. This is a structural piece missing for many athletes and entrepreneurs. Even Glover Quinn, the NFL player who saved 70% of his salary and lived on 30%, ensured his lifestyle will continue after football. And you can adopt that same principle even on a smaller income. Here's a practical tip for you. Open dedicated savings or money market accounts for each bucket, and then automate transfers on payday so that the act of saving happens without requiring constant willpower. Step three is you have to protect through insurance and agreements to prevent that drain. This isn't a glamorous step, guys, but it is essential because protection is about transferring risk. Life insurance, disability insurance, health insurance, and legal agreements for business owners, they're going to shield your assets from disruption. You remember how athletes lose millions due to injuries or trusting the wrong advisor? That's a structural failure. Think of insurance as the scaffolding that holds your wealth in place when life shakes. For corporate professionals, it means if your job is eliminated, your continuation fund buys you time to make decisions without panic. For entrepreneurs, proper business agreements and insurance prevent a lawsuit or partnership issues from wiping out your savings. Step four, you have to invest for multiplication. Make money work for you after you're done working. See, once you've established your protection buckets, the next step is to make your money produce even when you're sleeping. Now, that might look like a diversified investment portfolio. It could be retirement accounts, rental properties, or a business that functions without your constant involvement. Investing is the difference between active income and then structural wealth. People who keep all of their money in a checking account are like those athletes who kept spending as if the paychecks would never stop. Meanwhile, when you look at the wealthy families and wise athletes, they build foundations, things like trust, portfolios, insurance, real estate. They continue to grow long after they stop earning. That's the principle behind long-term wealth. Income disappears, but the structure compounds. Let me illustrate all of this with a story. Jasmine was a 32-year-old marketing executive. She was making like 6 figures, traveling for work, taking care of her aging parents. So she felt successful on paper. She also felt constantly anxious. She had no idea how long she could sustain her lifestyle if she lost her job. So one day, she heard that 49% of women have no emergency savings and that 37% of women feel anxious about money. So at that point, it hit her because she saw herself in those numbers. She decided to treat her finances like a business. So first, she calculated her continuation number. She figured out that $6,000 per month is what she needed to cover her life and support her parents. 6 months of that, $36,000. She didn't have to save it overnight, but she now had a target. The next thing she did was she set up buckets, one for expenses, one for taxes and debt reduction, and then one for her continuation fund. The other bucket was for investing. Now she automated those transfers. Next, she called a professional about insurance. For the first time in her life, she understood her workplace benefits supplemented them with term life insurance, and then she got disability coverage. And then lastly, she started investing through a trusted advisor. She educated herself enough to understand risk, but wasn't paralyzed by it. Over 3 years, she built the entire $36,000 continuation fund, paid off high interest debt, and saw her investment account continue to stack. The result? When her company went through layoffs 2 years later, she didn't have to panic. She took a deep breath, took 4 months to find a role that aligned with her values, and never tapped into debt. You see, income without structure disappears, but income with structure compounds and multiplies. I know this conversation resonated. That's not random. What it means is that you're ready to move from uncertainty to stability. As women or corporate leaders, entrepreneurs, or even athletes, we aren't meant to carry everything alone. We aren't meant to rely solely on motivation. We aren't meant to trade peace for progress. So with that, here's my invitation. If you are a female entrepreneur or a woman or even an athlete who knows you're capable, driven, responsible, but you're honest enough to say, I need help thinking this through, then I want you to visit insurelegacy.org and click the client button. Now look, this isn't a sales pitch, okay? It's a partnership. It's where we walk you through your lifestyle continuation plan. We're gonna analyze your continuation number, we'll set up your buckets, we'll ensure you have the right protection. We help you to invest with intelligence because we're mission-minded and our mission is grounded in the principle that clarity belongs where confusion lives in your future. You see, we don't lead with pressure, we lead with understanding. And so sometimes the strongest move you can make is deciding to stop carrying everything by yourself. When you're ready, we're here, not to sell you fear, not to tell you how to live, but to help and guide you on how to build structure so your income doesn't disappear. That will help you finally breathe. So I want you to remember, earning is important, but structure is what turns income into legacy. So run well, young lions and lionesses. Tony the Tycoon. I'm out.